Awesome, man. Well, that being said, welcome to the Pal Life Podcast. How are you today, Mr. David Weiss? What's up, man?
Hey man, what's going on?
Not much, dude. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man and you got a lot going on. So that being said, I want to just dive into what it is that you do so well. A lot of people know you for is just talking about why we are not on a spinning ball. I would love to just start. I know you do it all the time, but starting off how you got here.
Well, I'll tell you that story in a second, but
Yeah.
the reason we're not on a spinning the way you can tell we're not on a spinning ball is we're not all dead.
It's true. That's a good way to start for sure. Well, here's my thing is just going right off of that is when you spin around, clearly you're going to start to feel nauseous. You're going to feel even remotely a little bit something's off. When you close your eyes, you stand still. Tell me, what do you feel, right? And that's the thing that's really stood out to me that you've brought up many times.
Right. I mean, all of the motions of the helio-nonsensical system are absolutely insane. People think flat Earth is insane. Just look at the heliocentric model. I mean, we're spinning, twirling, whirling, corkscrewing through space at speeds that you can't imagine. People say, well, the Earth only goes around once a day. Try looking at the hour hand on a clock. That goes around twice a day, and you still can't see it move. Good point. But now extend that hand out farther and farther and farther. Extend it out 100 miles. Okay.
Right.
And see if you can keep up with that thing. Right.
Right.
Curving. And so, at the equator, we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour. 1,000 miles an hour. That's faster than the speed of sound. Okay. And that's how you see the sun going down, because you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound.
Right.
Sometimes I get to the point discussing this where I'm just like, how can people not see this? How can we're the crazy ones, right?
Right. Well, what's interesting is that it's crazy because you start to doing just what we're doing is ask questions or start to use some sort of logic of going, wait a minute, how is it if we are doing this? How come I don't feel this? How come it doesn't feel that it's that prevalent in my everyday life where I'm like, whoa, that caught my attention, like an earthquake. Like you feel an earthquake, any sort of sudden shift in an earthquake, like, whoa, I felt that. It completely stops you in what you're doing.
Tiniest little motion. Like when you're in an airplane, people go, how come I'm on an airplane? I can drink a glass of water. It doesn't go flying to the back of the plane. Well, that's because you're in an enclosed system. Unless you want, if you want to say the Earth is enclosed, then that's fine. We could have that discussion. But heliocentrists or heliocentrics, actually nobody thinks that. So, what was the point that you just made? My brain just fried.
Dude, no worries, man. We were just talking about how when you feel any sort of sudden motion with like an earthquake or anything, you're going to feel it. Yeah,
got it. So you're in an airplane and you're flying wherever you're flying straight and level to that place, and you're taking you're asleep in the airplane, and as soon as the pilot just starts to nose down just a little bit, you're a half an hour, 45 minutes from the airport, and they start descending slowly. Right. Mm-hmm. You wake up right away. You're like, whoa, we're changing out there. I can tell we're changing. But on an airplane, if we were going, over a ball, we'd be dropping, in the course of an hour, 30 miles we'd have to drop just to maintain our altitude, which makes absolutely no sense. It's just something that doesn't happen, something that's not done, something that you would definitely notice.
Yeah. Well, let's stay with planes for a sec, because this is something that is interesting in regards to, so say, if you're going from East Coast to West Coast, right, you're going to, it's either lose an hour or you're going faster or slower, depending on the wind turbulence.
Well, are you talking about the spin of the Earth or the atmosphere that's moving?
Well, I'm bringing up the fact that people will say, oh, because we're spinning, you are going faster in one direction. That's what people might say in regards to heliocentric, where it's not, it's getting to the point where it's not a substantial amount of difference. That would be if it were.
I think in sometimes in some routes that when, if you're going to the east, you're chasing the Earth because the Earth is spinning to the east. Okay. So in reality, if you're on the equator and a plane that goes 550 miles an hour, you're going backwards 500 miles an hour. You're losing 500 miles an hour because the Earth is outrunning you. But there's air currents at like 40,000 feet that outrun the spin of the Earth. Okay. How do you outrun the spin of the Earth if you're air at 40,000 feet?
Right.
It's insane. It would lag back. If gravity's holding onto it, it would still lag back,
Yeah. Well,
and
think
but
about
it's
also just
outrunning the Earth.
well, think about also just fuel efficiency, right? If we were to follow what they tell us, which
If
I
you
don't fully
believe that
believe,
airplanes use fuel,
I agree. Well, that's why I said that I don't agree with. But if we're using what people are saying, which we will talk about that because I'm with you 100%. But people who may or may not be familiar with what you do and what we're talking about, it'd be interesting. But what is interesting is if you just take any logic, doesn't even have to believe this, just thinking, are you being efficient with your time and money? If you think there is fuel to be going with that much spin, you would be burning so much fuel, as you say, going 550 miles backwards,
but
just
gravity,
trying to
dude,
maintain.
gravity is holding on to
Yeah.
everything. Gravity.
Right. What?
Yeah.
Gravity, man.
Yeah, gravity,
Yeah.
dude. Gravity, the magic. It holds the ball together. The sun holds on to the Earth and all the other planets, but it ignores all the moons because the moons are only attracted to planet gravity. And each planet has its own type of gravity for its own moon. It won't
Right.
disturb any of the other moons. I mean, the stories are ridiculous.
Well, what's interesting is just how when you break it down into the most simplistic form, going back to how we started, of just like, okay, stand still for a second, close your eyes,
Yeah.
put your feet in the ground. What do you feel? And then when someone says, hey, I just feel still, or I feel this, right? Which everybody, unless they're just spun around in circles, right? They're going to feel for the
Right.
most part somewhat still. Now you're going to go, okay, well, now you're spinning 1,000 miles an hour. It's like, well, I don't feel it, right? So what you've talked about many a time, and I've listened to by a lot of people is, oh, okay, well, you're feeling something that is there, but you don't feel it. Wait, excuse me.
Yeah,
So I'm feeling something that I don't. Yeah, go
they
on.
want you to
Sorry.
trade in your common sense for nonsense. I mean,
Right.
that's what it is. People go, "Oh, I'm not a scientist. I don't have a degree." These guys have degrees. These guys are all liars, or the ones that all of the guys that came up with the heliocentric model. They're all Freemasons, all liars. But you think that the ones that are educated, the ones that are teaching us, those are the ones that memorize and
Mm-hmm.
regurgitate the same
Right.
nonsense the best, and they want you to trade in your common sense for nonsense. A 5-year-old has enough common sense to know that we're not spinning out of control. These are all of the scientists that everybody names. They're all Freemasons. They all have they're always holding a little compass to say, hey, I'm a Freemason. And that's the religion of the world that is running this world.
Right. Well, and I mean, this actually brings up a conversation when I posted that you were going to be coming on, or we'd be talking. A friend or someone I went to high school with started immediately attacking. In no disrespect to him, no disrespect to the conversation, but what you start to notice is these types of things where there's already a preconceived notion of how we perceive it, like as if some people already know what I believe or how I
Yeah,
see things
they think you
without
believe
looking into any of
this.
this.
They think you believe
Yeah, well, let's
this,
talk
that
about
that there's planets,
right.
that we're a disk floating in space with a dome over it. They believe that we think that we're a disk floating in a spherical solar system with a giant sun. No flat earther believes any of that, but that's what globers believe. Flat earthers believe because of the programming from Freemasons like Carl Sagan and Bill Nye, the Line Guy, and Neil deGrasse Tyson. These are the guys, the deceivers of the world.
Well, and it's also going back to, as you said, you learn, you regurgitate, and there are a lot of people that I truly feel, and maybe you can agree, that really do believe it, or they really, in many of their own ways, are trying. They think they're trying to send a good message, and it's also through the programming of not wanting to be chastised or exiled in any kind of way,
Right.
right? And I think there are people that truly believe it. They're not lying, right? There are liars, of course, but when you get enough people who really believe it, it's like, well, I can't be mad at you because you really believe this, right? But it's also how people then hold themselves
Well,
and carry themselves and react.
in the great words of Crow 777 Radio, is
Yeah.
belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief
Yep.
is easy. um,
Right.
you can believe anything. You tell me something, I believe it. Done. I don't have to do any research. I don't know if I said I live in Connecticut. Well, you guys, everyone believes that. Do you know that I live in Connecticut? Have you ever verified it? Have you ever looked it up? It's going to take you a few hours, maybe a couple of days to really verify it, or you can just believe me. You know,
Right.
something like that is like, well, why is he lying about that? Of course, I'm going to believe him. But when it comes to space, planets, Elon Musk, Mars, all of this stuff, people believe, and they don't even look. They don't even
Right.
look at these rocket launches. They're the most ridiculous things ever. Do you have my app?
Of course I do.
Did you
Yeah.
watch today's video?
I didn't watch today's video. We were
See,
running
that's
around.
shame on you. Shame on you.
Shame
You have
on
to
me,
watch it
man.
every day. Marty Leeds is basically calling out Jay Dwyer, but that's part of it. But he plays one of my videos. There was a big launch coming up, and it was a cartoon, and everybody watched the cartoon and was happy. That was enough proof for them.
Right.
It
Yep.
literally they showed a cartoon, and the whole world believes that we went into space.
So here's my question to you: from the amount of people you've talked to that aren't necessarily seeing the things the way you do, why is it, other than the things that we talked about, but is there something maybe a little more deeper that as to why someone might stay true, knowing very well that that is a cartoon and they say it is a 3D rendering or a CGI or an image of? Why do you think it's so hard for people to?
Because we're trusting beings and we can't believe that authority figures would lie to us. So you just blindly trust everything they say. If it's on the news to some people, then it's real. If a guy in a white butcher coat said it, then it's real. Then he's an authority. He's a health authority. He's a scientist. You know, they all wear these white coats. It's the Mark Sargent did the power of the white coat or whatever, and
Mhm.
I think he went on. I think he put on a suit, a scientist lab coat, and then everybody took him seriously. You know, like you talk to people on the street, and it's amazing what people will just do if somebody in a friggin' lab coat tells them. A new study shows that 9 out of what they could say whatever, and as long as it says a new study shows or scientists did a study or whatever, everyone just believes it. So we're the problem is we're inherently good people and we trust, and we really shouldn't even know what deception is because there shouldn't be any. Nobody should deceive, but there's a lot of deception in this world. There's a lot of evil. There's a lot of Satanism, and that's all run down by the Freemasons. They're literally a satanic cult. Did you see that new movie, The Whistleblower? I think guys was in the music industry, and he
Yeah, yeah,
basically exposed. Did you watch it?
yeah. I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 friggin' hours. I watched the whole thing.
I mean, I didn't watch it all the way through, but that just goes to show you where, when you look at the small amount of people who could be making such an impact on the world around us. And when people will constantly say, well, why is everyone lying? Why would everyone lie? It really isn't that. It's a small amount of people that really do perpetuate certain lies, and then it spreads. And the reason why this is so important, from my point of view, I've worked in the fitness industry for over 10 years. So I'm all about the human potential. I want to know how we can help people reach their potentials, myself included. And that's one thing with this rule that just started catching my attention, because when you start to realize, and you've said this many times in other conversations, when you're not a mistake, that people have lied to you, but the reason why is because there's a fear of your potential as an individual, let alone the masses. So when you start to understand that and you look and see these things for what's really going on, it's going, oh my gosh, there's someone trying to take me away from my potential. And now that I see it, I can't allow that, or I'm willing to
That's
make the changes necessary.
Yeah, that's the thing. People don't know their potential because it was taken away from them at birth. I think when they give babies injections right there at delivery, that literally stifles their brain development right there. People have no
Yeah.
idea how evil these things can be. I won't say the word again, so I don't get you a copy, a strike.
Honestly,
Um,
man, I just do it for fun.
yeah. So the potential of a human being is so misunderstood. I believe that back when Tataria was worldwide civilization, which wasn't that long ago, it was probably in
Right.
the mid 1800s, late 1800s. Um, People knew the power of their minds, and they built great things. I mean, the
Right.
world they had free energy, they had all of this stuff, and it was all taken away from us, and we've been put in a prison for our mind, and we've been kept sick and stupid, uneducated, not knowing who we are, in fear. And when you're in fear, your manifestation skills just go away.
Absolutely. Well, talking about architecture too, I just recently had on Christopher Gardner, and we were talking about architecture in regards to, well, why is it that we can't from an architecture's point of view, why there isn't the ability to recreate. And one of the things that he did say was, unless you understand that there was a resonance that they brought into their architecture, like that they built it with a certain resonance, and if you can't meet that resonance or you don't know how to tap into that, then there is no possibility. So it
Right.
just goes to show you.
Think about this. So the takeover happened in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, and that's when they stole all our history from us, and they just basically lied about, the Wild West. It's a total lie. Everything before 1900 is a lie, and most of the stuff in the early 1900s is also a lie. But they've erased all of that, and then the Rockefellers. Was it in the 60s, or I'm not exactly sure. They changed the tuning of music from 432 to 440.
Why is that?
Okay, so 432 resonates with your body, with the earth. It is the resonance, right? But 440 literally causes sickness. It grinds against you. It's like singing at a tune. Okay, but they changed everything to 440. Why? Because they didn't want people having this music, having this resonance. But look what's going on now. You can't go to church. You can't sing. I mean, people don't understand the importance of singing and dancing and being human. But they change the resonance. And if you hear a song like a classic like Mozart or Beethoven in 440, it sounds pretty good. You listen to 432, it gives you chills. I mean, it'll make you cry.
Right.
And that's people have no idea. People don't even think that exists. They don't understand the power of sound. The rice experiment where you yell at rice and I mean, once you see that, you can't unsee it. It's like the flat earth.
Absolutely. And I actually going into Royal Rife, right, in regards to his resonance machine or a vibration machine,
frequency machine.
So, and that's something that caught my attention and just absolutely blew my mind from a good friend who looks into things as well, and just seeing, wait a minute, so you're showing me that resonance have that much of an impact on us all the time. And as you said, with music, that's something we're experiencing every day, and we don't even realize really the power. We say, like, this is one of my biggest things. We'll say and do things that we don't realize the true meaning of what we're really doing. Like when I say, oh man, like I felt that song moved me. What are you saying?
Yeah.
It means that frequency moved through you literally, and you became one with that frequency. You were moving with that frequency, or like, my battery's low, right? In regards to the body, like, oh dude, I'm just drained. What do you like when you understand that we're in this electric system that is running like a battery? You start to realize, oh, that's because I function very much like a battery. Obviously there's more to it, but you start to notice these things that we say and we don't even realize what we're really saying in regards to the potential.
Right. And when you say I can't, well, guess what? You can't.
Right.
I can't imagine. Well, that's right. You can't imagine. I mean, what are the words that you say are your life?
Well, so going off of that, when I was trying to, for a while, as I said in our conversation, I was like, I want to talk to Dave. I want to see if I can get in touch with him. I was trying to find ways, reaching out on YouTube, and just so happened that, this worked out through Instagram. And it's one of those things where I kept telling myself, hey, I'll find a way. I will find a way to have a conversation if it's meant to be. But that's the thing. It's those little things when you realize that, well, why is Dave always have everything going so well from him? Why is this person have everything going well? Well, what's their attitude? What's their mindset?
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't.
Your mindset is everything.
Right.
And here's the thing: a lot of stuff that's come into my life, I couldn't imagine it. That's why I didn't have it back then.
Right.
Okay.
So what was that back then? Before, because everyone always asks, like, did you always believe in this? Like, what was the before for you?
Well, I've always had a good attitude. I've always been a good person. I've always had known that your thoughts create things, but I still don't know it enough. Like if I really understood it, I could probably fly. All right. I just don't understand it enough where I could fly yet. All right. So you just let it come in. This world is completely amazing, and they've programmed us to laugh at these things. One of the big programming things was Star Trek. Were you a Star Trek fan, or are you probably a little younger?
No, I mean, I
grew up on Star Trek. Every single episode, Captain Kirk, the whole thing. Well, there's different episodes that are basically kind of make you discount things. There's one episode where the landing party goes down to this planet and everything they think of just happens. Like Sulu thought about Don Quixote, and all of a sudden there's Don Quixote, and then you know, whatever, everything they think of just starts appearing, and they can't figure it out. And then finally the guy that runs the planet comes out from underneath. He goes, oh yeah, this is a world where whatever you think becomes reality. Well, that's the world that we live in. But that show right there makes you laugh at it, makes you go, oh, that's not true. It's like the Flat Earth Society with Flat Earth. You look at that and go, oh, that's stupid, it's dumb. So they're always showing us these things. You know, truth in the movies, lies in the news.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the news. So for me, something that I saw that you spoke about, talked about, shared, as well as other people, the thing that just made me really start just asking questions was the Antarctic Treaty. That really started opening my eyes, because in just regards to asking questions, you know, that did not make sense to me. We're post World War II. We have country after country after country just going at it, bombs being just dropped everywhere, you know, countless deaths, whatever the numbers, just, you know, we're not going into that right now.
But the penguins,
Exactly.
you
So
have to protect the penguins.
Can you describe, for those who may not know, what I'm talking about, what we're talking about?
Yeah. So Admiral Byrd in the 1940s and 50s was, you know, they were doing expeditions out to Antarctica, and Admiral Byrd said he discovered more land beyond the poles, which doesn't make any sense on a ball, that bigger than the United States, that has more resources than we've ever seen. No human has ever set eyes upon it. And all of a sudden they signed the treaty in 1959. No, you know, I think a dozen countries signed it then, and then there's over 50 countries that have signed it since. And basically it says nobody can go there on you know, and explore the outer lands. You can go to the shoreline, you know, and they show you right on the peninsula. They'll show you some ice, they'll show you some penguins, they'll show you a ceremonial South Pole, and you can't verify where you are, you know, because compasses don't work and GPS doesn't work because it's too far away from the North Pole. And maybe there's other reasons too, but nobody is allowed to independently explore out there. So people, you know, the trolls will go, well, what if it's so big around, you know, how are they gonna stop you? What are they, you know, are they elbow, you know, hooked at the elbows all the way around? You know, they just that's a stupid straw man argument, because this is the shoreline of Antarctica, right? It's not 13,000 miles around like they tell us. This would be the shoreline would be about 13,000 miles around. You get two boats or two airplanes, and you say, okay, we're going to go in opposite directions. We're going to follow the shoreline, and 7,000 miles later, we should meet. Okay. But that's not the case, because it's the last person that did it was Captain Cook, and he went over 60,000 miles. It took him 3.5 years, because this is all the way around. So yeah, it is a big area, but guess what? The only access points are like from Australia, from South Africa, and from Santiago, right? And New Zealand, right? So there's such thing as radar. You know, they can see great distances if anyone's going. I mean, they're listening to all of our communications. They know where everybody is. So anyone that tries to go will get intercepted. There was a guy, I forget what country he's from, should probably look it up, and he got permission from his country. He got stopped when he crossed over the 60th parallel, which no one's allowed to go beyond. Threatened to be sunk, turned around, sent home, and jailed when he got home. So nobody can go there now. If you're like, wait a minute, I need to know more about this. On the app under Antarctica, there's a video called "Sorry, Antarctica is Closed." It's done by a flat earther who's a lawyer who spent, I don't know, if it would take me 5 years to do what he did. He looked up all the evidence, showed you what you have to go through if you want to go to Antarctica. And if you had the resources, you need tons of money. You have to file permits with all these different permits. They'll cost you like between $200,000 and $2 million. And then it'll take you a year or more, and then they'll reject you, and they keep all the money. They'll say, sorry, you know, you can't do it because whatever, you know, because you're going to end up peeing on the snow, and it's going to disturb the pristine ice, and you know, whatever. So they make it extremely hard. But even if they let you, you know, how are you going to navigate out there? It's dark, it's cold. There's no way, there's nothing that, easy way to navigate.
Absolutely. And this is just you know, trying to think then like a child's mind, and just of curiosity, is just starting to ask the questions, why? Just why? Like, you know what I mean? Why is it that after a world war, Second World War, and not on top of all the other, things that were happening at that time, why is it that that's the one thing they come together on, where all the countries can agree, like, you know what, let's, and this is, and again, it's not even being sarcastic when you say it's about the penguins. That's literally what is in their documents. It's what they're saying is this is what it's about. And it's like, okay, well, what about all the other land and beautiful animals that was just completely bombed? Like, what? And it's just a genuine question. Why is that not worth protecting, but this now is?
Think about this. So we're
You
in
know what I mean?
the United States. Imagine if there was a dome over us. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
flat, round, doesn't matter. There was a flat Earth, because on ball Earth we'd all be dead. Flat Earth. There's a dome over us that comes down 100 miles offshore. Okay, all the way around America, and Canada is, you can't see Canada because it's cut off by the dome, and there's wilderness,
Right, right.
whatever. And that's all you knew. And you even know the dome is there, but you've been convinced your entire life that there's nothing beyond there. That's just empty
Of course.
space and there's nothing
Right.
to do. And then one day some guy goes, "Hey, there's more land out there. There's more stuff out there. There's more people out there. There's a whole nother world out there." And if your answer is, "Well, what difference does it make?" then you are officially a prisoner. You are a
Yeah.
a
Well,
hostage.
Plato's cave.
Yeah. Well,
It's exactly
it's exactly what it is. But people don't understand. I mean, there could be other worlds right beyond where we live. Extra territory, extraterrestrials come from the extra terra in the outer space. We live here in the inner space,
right.
and there's extra territory in the outer space.
Absolutely. But it just goes to show you in regards to words and what the meaning of words and things that we say or we might do, not realizing what that actually means. As you said, outer space. In an outer space, it could literally mean the way obviously we're told, or just outer space of, well, what's in space, if I'm in a house or outside of a house, right? It just
Right.
these simple things. And obviously what you're showing, there's no proof of that. There's no factual proof of that. This is what we know.
No, it's
Correct.
not what we know. This was a newspaper in Hawaii that found this Japanese map showing many other continents outside of Antarctica.
Right.
Why do we keep coming across this? Why do we come
Right.
across, even stories in the Iron Republic from the 1901, I think it was published, and it's a story about somebody that went through through a fissure and came out on the other side, lost at sea, found another land. There was people there with flat screen TVs, electric cars, high tech, all of the stuff that's described in this book, in the series of articles, and stuff that we're just getting today, or we don't even have today. So
Right.
how did they just someone make up a crazy story like that? I mean, it sounds, again, we don't have hard proof, but everything in that book, you gotta, I think you could still get it on Amazon, and there's also a reading of it on YouTube if you just look for it.
Well,
And it's a great story.
well, what is interesting is you said, like, can we 100% prove it? No. But in regards to just doing what we are meant to do, is ask questions, is be curious, and really going back to potential, right? Is just looking up at the sky. Like, look at how the world we live in right now, as we're doing now. It's looking down at a phone. What, just reminding yourself, hey, look up once in
Right.
a while. What is it that you see? You know,
And you said, we can't really prove it. We can't prove what's beyond right now because we're not allowed to go there.
of
What's
course,
above
yeah,
our heads or what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica, but we can prove what's right here, and we can
yeah,
prove that it's not a ball. I mean, we can see too far. There should be 59 feet of curvature here from the height of this camera in the distance, but we can still see the water for dozens of miles beyond it. Okay,
yeah.
there should be hundreds of feet of curvature. We can see too far and get Jay Tolan on it with his lenses and infrared lenses. He's seeing 1,000 miles.
It's
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah. Where there
And
should
that's
be,
and that should be physically impossible.
100 miles of curvature. Okay.
Right.
Or more. His stuff is amazing, but we can see too far. And once people are like, well, why does the sun go down? It's very, very simple why the sun goes down, and very simple why it sets from the bottom up, and it has nothing to do with curvature.
So for those who might not know, what is it that you're then describing if it's not?
So everything is due to perspective, and just imagine a whole series of airplanes all flying parallel with each other, a whole row of them. They're all parallel, same height, and you're under the middle of them. The one that you're under is directly over your head, right? And the whole line goes out 20 miles wide, right? So the one the way out there 20 miles away, that's lower in the sky.
Hmm.
It's still high, but it looks like it's lower, right? Due to perspective. So here's a setup I did. This is my flat earth counter. The counter's flat, it's not spherical, okay? All right? This line, I'm bringing this light, which is the sun, represents the sun. I'm just going across this line, and I'm showing you that I'm just going in a straight line. This could be land, mountains, or it could just be the atmospheric deck of opacity, the cloud deck. But I never go below it. So now I'm going to show you the same thing. I am filming it from the other side, from the level of the counter. And there's the sun. It looks like it's going down. Look at that line. And look, it gets sets behind this mountain, which we know is high in the sky or cloud deck, but it looks like it's at eye level from a distance.
Hmm.
Look at this line. It looks like it's just going down. It looks like it's
Yep.
going down. And then, so hold on. Now I'm going to compare it to a real sunset at the same time. So here I am. It's going away, level. Looks like it's going down. Here's a real sunset. It's not going behind this horizon. It's going behind this atmospheric deck of opacity.
Yep.
Okay. It's just going beyond it. Right. That's why
Absolutely.
things disappear from the bottom up. It's
Well, I
very,
can.
very clear.
Well, I work in film as well. I have made a lot of movies and done stuff like that. So I've worked with a lot of my teams. We worked with cameras, drones, things like that. And one thing that we would notice when we would shoot anything with the drone is when you're at, ground level, you'll see the sun setting in some capacity. When we would start to bring that thing up, you would start to get more of the sun. And that was always something
Well,
that.
they tell us that's because on a ball, you can watch the sunset and then quickly go to the top of a building and see the sun again. You can see it set again. That's because it's going over a ball. No, that's just because the higher up you are, the farther you can see. You're changing
Mhm.
your level. So when you look at clouds, if there's spotted clouds all across the sky, they're all sitting at that same level. And the ones over your head, 5,000 feet high or whatever they are, 20, 30 miles away, those clouds are literally touching the water. They merge with the water. Well,
Mhm.
anything above them that's moving. So here's my sun. It's just moving away. It's just moving away. And as it moves away, it looks like it's setting, but it's not. Right? It
Right.
moves back. Right. So
Hmm.
so that's why things go down. So you got that cloud deck or just the atmospheric density at 30, 40 miles, maybe even 100 miles, whatever it is, it becomes opaque and the sun just disappears beyond it.
Yeah.
This is one where it's super clear, super dry. This is on the high plains in Africa, and the sun is clearly, this is super sped up, going away. It's not going down.
Yep.
As
Yeah.
as Paul says, the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, but the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. And
And
that,
well, that's a whole nother conversation,
yeah.
Mister. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
Is that the real Paul or not the real
yeah.
Paul?
Well, that's yeah. I mean, and then that's the thing is one thing that I also wanted to bring up is regards to then how people perceive you or people who think these things and going to, oh man, well if they believe this, all the stuff that they believe is crazy. You know what I mean? And so my question to you then is when people do start approaching you that way, I know you bring them to your app, but what are things that you try to get people just like a gentle being like, hey, look, this is something worth looking into. Start here, or what are some of those
I
things that you
have
would
a,
do?
I have, the app is the best way because if you just Google flat earth, if I send them one flat earth video, the next one that's going to come up is going to be a Google algorithm that is going to try to reprogram them, or
Right.
make them discount anything that you just saw. And there's so much of it, it's really effective. Even comments are effective. When the trolls come in and they comment and they just say
Hmm.
stupid things, people just get affected by comments. Because I used to, I'd be
Yep.
like, well, that's a great video, and then I read a troll comment, I'm like, oh, maybe not, and I start
Yeah.
questioning. So the app basically shows you video after video after video after video. It organizes everything. If you look, so when people say, what do I send people? Where's my thing? Look at me. I'm not prepared. Totally not prepared. Um,
No worries. We
Give me
keep it
one
chill
second.
here, man.
Yeah. No problem. There it is. So now I go like this. So when you say, what do I show people? There it is. All right. So you see my app.
Hmm.
So, you know, the app basically will teach you what's going on flat Earth. But if you hit the center button, the web button, up come all of these extra things.
Mm.
Wow, what happened there? Oh, that changed. And then over here on the right, full length videos, FE movies. That playlist right there. There is nobody that can watch these movies, even just a couple of them, and not end up as a flat earther. So I say, just start at the top of that list. Watch one a night. Sit with the family. Sit with your family and your loved ones, because you don't want to be a flat earther alone.
Right.
And watch them. They're highly entertaining. You know, I'd pay $20 to go to a movie theater to see these. They're well done.
Right.
But and then and
Yeah.
these are going to change everything. So those right there, in my opinion, are worth the cost of the app, which is $3.
Right.
Um, and
So
good.
yeah, no. So in regards to that, what with people that have taken your challenge or whatever that may be, what is the feedback you've gotten from
Yeah,
those?
the feedback is I got nothing. Nobody takes the challenge, except you get some idiot will go, photo of Earth, send me my Bitcoin, So
Yeah.
I'm like, show me one photo. And they're like, all of them. I'm like, okay, you're out. Show me one photo. I'm not going to show you a photo because you'll just say it's fake. I'm like, no, I'm going to show you that it's fake. Okay.
Yeah.
But people, there really is no there's nothing. I'm not worried. Today on the show,
Yeah.
I said, for your listeners only, if you can come up with a proof of the flat earth of the globe, you get 2 Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but then that's the thing, right? What is interesting is people need something in return. As I said, when I was saying that you'd be coming on, someone had some comments, and for whatever the case is, what I ended up doing is I was actually talking with Josh and those guys over at Iron Realm Media, and they were like, "Hey, man, send him this voucher." And because one
Yeah.
of the things that he was saying to me was, it's all about profit, it's about profit. And then I just, and I sent this and said, look, there's no profit from this, nobody's profiting, but enjoy this. If you can ignore it too.
I'm
And that's the thing
profiting.
is
I'm paying
yeah.
my bills. I do this full time and I make money
Right.
just like you have a job. You're profiting from
Right.
your job. This is my
Right.
job. Okay. And
Right, of
talk
course.
about profits. I walked away from nice six figure income, okay, to do this.
Right.
And I could tell you I'm not making that. So
So
sorry to interrupt.
the question, no worries, but this is the point, and I think everyone thinks, if we're saying like, oh, there's people with underlying intentions that may not be well, the first thing that a lot of people will respectfully ask is, well, why not you? Why not? You know what I mean? And the question is, what was the takeaway for you? Why did you take that change or that risk that someone would call a risk?
Yeah, the reason I walked away from everything to do this is because the world is screwed up right now. We're going to go into some scary dark times that most truthers don't even understand what we're going into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And if we ever get our freedom back, how long are we going to be able to hold on to it if we're lost in space, spinning out of control, not knowing the true power of our minds? The one thing about flat earthers is they kind of unplug from the matrix, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's physically or spiritually, whatever, and they take back their power. They don't allow they don't allow anyone to rule over them anymore. They kind of unplug from that fear matrix. We don't watch the news. We know if it's on the news, it's fake. And
Right.
so that's the takeaway. I mean, once you understand that, so the reason I did this is because we're screwed if people remain asleep.
Right.
This world, we're going to go into a totalitarian, completely controlled. You can't do anything. You can't take a shit without them fucking giving you permission. And you think I'm fucking joking? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
you've already flushed your toilet once today.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it's coming. This vaccine passport, the mask is
Mm.
the key to the passport. I mean, it is insane what people are doing. People have lost their minds.
Yeah, man. Well, and that's the thing, is just more of understanding those, as you were saying, that find themselves going, hey, this makes sense. Flat Earth makes more sense. It's not talking about, how people perceive it. It's a matter of going, hey, there's more to our purpose here. And as you said, when you understand that, that's what really the bigger takeaways of all this is, that there is a potential in all of us. That's what drives so many people that would, consider themselves part of a flat Earth, is going, well, if they're saying that I'm just a speck of dust, and that's not the case, there's more to me, there's more to us as a community, as the masses. well, what is that, right? And as you said about movies, understanding that movies are putting things, every movie, it's like, hey, there's a few of them and many of us. Let's, obviously there's ways of doing it in a very chaotic way, but there are also ways to do it in a very honorable way, and as living men and women. And that's the part where, as you said, if things are going to get crazier, it's like, well, how do we tap into that? What does that mean to us? How do we get there?
Yeah, we get there by waking the frig up and taking back our our divine sovereignty. I can't say the word today, and just start being who we're supposed to be, and understand that there are no shortages. There is plenty of water. There's plenty of food.
Mm-hmm.
There's infinite water, infinite food, infinite energy, infinite everything, infinite love. It's all here, but the Satanists have literally been scaring it all away, keeping everybody afraid and disconnecting them from their source. That's it.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. What is source to you?
Um, Source is, I believe that we're here and we have our soul. I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone uses the word soul the same. So our soul is in us, our main soul. Maybe we have a whole bunch of other souls too, but we're here expanding the mind of the creator. And we
Mm-hmm.
just have to keep control of our soul. Don't lose our soul. Don't sell it. Don't lose it. And don't break anyone else's free will. So, if you do that, that is basically all you have to do. And whether you want to believe it's in whatever religion you want, as long as you obey those rules, don't break anyone's free will, and don't lose your soul. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple rules in this game.
Right. But that just goes to show you is when you've fallen so far off the path or find yourself on the beaten path, it's scary for people to admit that. And I'm saying
Yeah.
this from my own experience of when you start realizing, oh my gosh, what have I done, and not maybe even fully realizing, but when you do realize, you can't pretend like you don't know what, man, that wasn't maybe the best thing to do, or man, that outlook on life wasn't effective, that wasn't beneficial. And we've all been in those ruts. Like right now, for example, just anyone can look at this. This isn't flat earther or conspiracy or anything. Why is it that antidepressants are so high right now? Why is it that pharmaceuticals in general, that they're just making more money, disregarding any sort of these injections? I'm just talking about what we see. As I said, the fitness industry, obesity through the roof. What are these things? These are responses to feeling lost, having no purpose, trauma. That is, we know this. This comes
And
from your modern day psychologists,
your
scientists, everybody
soul
as well.
your soul knows the truth, but it's letting
Yep.
we're here with amnesia, and we're
Right.
supposed to learn the truth through our experiences, but they've hijacked us. They put us in a prison. They put
Right.
television programming on the TV. The giant flat screens are pretty darn cheap now. They want everybody to have them,
Yeah.
and they've convinced us to allow them to have medical control over our bodies, right? i
Right.
i know doctors that treat oncologists, that they know that this will kill their patient. They also know that there's a natural thing they can give them that has a 99% cure rate, but they can't do it
Hmm.
or they lose their license. Well,
Interesting.
they should
And
go friggin' kill themselves, okay? Because
wow.
that is ridiculous. But there's so
Right.
many things out there, um,
Right.
that that and people just follow because they want everyone's worried about their next paycheck. Pilots that
Yeah.
don't talk about flat Earth publicly because they want to keep their jobs. They know the Earth is flat. Most of them do.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is part of this, again, this conversation I had is talking about flight pilots. I mean, in their control manuals or their flight manuals.
Right.
So can you maybe go in a little bit about that since we're
Well,
talking about
all
it?
I don't want to quote NASA, but NASA documents, the FAA documents, all these CIA documents, they talk about all their modeling is done over a flat, non-rotating plane. It's in dozens and dozens of documents, hundreds of documents, a flat, non-rotating plane. Why would you model something over a flat, non-rotating plane if the Earth was a spinning ball?
Right. Right. And at 1,000 miles an hour, at that,
1,000 miles
enough
an
where
hour at
you
the
would
equator,
naturally.
but northern Alaska is only moving like 300 miles an hour. Okay, so
Right.
how do you deal with those changes in speed?
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
that'd be so, yeah, exactly. I mean, that would be so incredibly drastic in regards to if you're going on these different longitudes and these different latitudes. And if
right?
it's moving at these planes that are going 550 miles an hour or whatever it is, like if you're in there, you're going to feel not just a slow drop or dropping altitude. That's going to be like, these jerking motions
You're gonna
because you're.
over the course of an hour, if you don't nose down on an airplane, you'd be 80,000 feet in the air. Okay, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's crazy. Yeah.
It's
Well,
ridiculous.
let's talk about getting 80,000, because I love talking about all this. I want to get as much as I can in the time. We're 80,000 feet up. What is up at 80,000 feet? What have people been doing to show from their own? There it is.
So
So what is this that we're seeing?
this is a amateur rocket called the Go Fast rocket, and it does something NASA and SpaceX don't do. They give you an uninterrupted view rather than cut, 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 cut. Watch any space
Right.
launch before it clears the launch pad. It's cut 3 times. Okay, but it went up and it went into something viscous. It went into like a plasma, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it literally made a plunking noise, and it was pretty cool. But then what the cool thing that happens, this was over Arizona, we could see the moon. That's the moon. Okay. Right. Besides the earth looking pretty flat, but people say, I see a curve. I can explain that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
The moon was over New Zealand. Okay. So if the earth was a
Wow.
basketball, that was a millimeter over the top of the basketball, and New Zealand was almost on the very bottom of the basketball.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And
Okay.
in Yeah, so going on this in regards to it, why? I mean, we know, but the shot that always is facing down with cameras, why is that? Why don't we ever get one facing up?
Right. I mean, that because
That's just a question I have. I'm just
yeah,
very
and why do they
curious.
watch any launch, any space launch, um 5, 6, 7 cuts within the first 10, 15 seconds. It's just like cut, cut,
Mm,
cut, different. Where are the raw films of all of those? They're like, well, they release them later. No, they don't. They never release them because it's done, and you watch it. They do all sorts of trickery. Sometimes they launch a miniature rocket. Sometimes they launch a helium rocket.
right,
Sometimes they don't launch anything. So, after the launch, you're watching a cartoon. They do
right.
all sorts of stuff. The recent SpaceX test of their I call it their grain silo rocket. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. And anybody that looks at that and believes it literally should just friggin' give up on life because it's the dumbest crap ever. I don't know
Right.
how people believe it. Here's a rocket that was launched last year, I think. And this is not a real rocket. This is a projection like Tupac was. Okay. Right. That's a projection. This is not real. It's a
So
hologram.
here's my question, because I actually haven't seen this one. How is it that we can know that that is what you're saying, a hologram?
What's the top of the rocket? Funny you should ask. What's the top of the rocket? Going, gone. Show you
Oh
again
wow.
a little close up. There was a glitch in the rocket, and the projection screwed up. Pretty damning.
Yeah.
Now, Glover
So
will go compression. No, it's not compression. Now, we were looking at Google Earth shots of NASA, and we're crawling, ground shots, and I think it was Google Earth, maybe it was something else, and we
mm,
were like, what are these big lights on it looked like big giant projector lights. I'm like, are they lighting up the rocket with that? And we got a name, a company name or a serial number, and we looked it up. It's a holographic projection company. We found these on the lawn at the NASA Launch Center.
interesting.
Yeah.
And this was you and a couple other
This was just so
friends.
this was the Jaron from the Jaronism
Yeah, yeah,
channel.
yeah.
Maybe it was during a Glowbuster show. Not sure, but that was a while ago.
Right.
You know, and
Interesting.
yeah. So when you look at it, here's the space shuttle, not
Mm,
the space station. Look, his head is transparent. Okay, this is
yeah.
just editing with nonsense,
Right. And
right?
this is their footage.
This is their footage. Check this out. They got the Soyuz came up or whatever, and they got some fresh fruit. So they're playing with a lemon. Look, it's not real. It's augmented reality. Watch it. Watch the hand. Goes right through it.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, if they're faking floating a lemon, you can unwind that too. We never went to the friggin' moon. Okay.
Let's talk about it. Let's. I know I got you for a couple more minutes. I don't
You
know
can
how.
you
Yeah,
can
go on.
unwind them. You can unwind it to everything. And people like, here's another augmented reality.
Yeah.
This is real, filled with helium. This is not real. And now she's manipulating it. It's a CGI object. It's called augmented reality, and she's manipulating things in air. It's
Yep.
that the technology is there. It's
See,
unbelievable.
well, what's interesting too is we talk about films and movies all the time. Is when you start to see what's in these movies where they're green screening, and you're like, wow, this looks so real. Like you're getting so conditioned to see these CGIs. Is yep, right here.
Nothing is real here. This is what's really happening. That truck
Yep.
doesn't exist,
Yep.
right?
Ouch. Yep. I
Look, she's
completely.
touching nothing, but she hit the button in the elevator.
And that's what's so crazy, because this is a world that I'm very familiar with in
Yeah.
regards to, maybe not to this extent. Like I've never been on these types of sets where I'm having to move like this through a green screen, but knowing very well how these things work is so fascinating, because then you start to realize it's like what we think we see isn't necessarily the case. And that's just then going, okay, well, let me ask questions. Let my curiosity get the best of me. Because as you're seeing movies, in my own experiences, we've shot certain things, talking about quick cuts, where we shot one scene in 4 different locations, and you would have no idea what we just did, purely based off of cuts, different angles. You know what I mean? And that's what's so fascinating, is being on that side of things. You go, okay, wow, I know we can create illusions here, and it happens all the times. So then begs the question, okay, well, what am I seeing? Is you showing right here? Is this what I'm
Look at her.
seeing?
She's going and she's going to get this guy just hands her the thing, but it comes out of there. It's crazy. I
Yeah,
don't know how they do it. It's amazing. It's
it's
amazing.
wild.
And also when we look at things, our eyes, when people are like, well, I see planets, they're round and I can see this is that big and that. No, you
Yeah,
don't know what you're seeing. See, are these tables the same size and the same shape?
no.
You sure?
Well, I feel they are, but that's so wild.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy? They're
Perception,
the
man. I mean,
same
yeah.
size and shape.
Wow. That's so wild. And that goes to show you all those pictures that we see of those perspective paintings, and wow. And that's what's so beautiful about it, is when our eye can very much trick us all very easily. So then what do, right? Is we go, well, I need somebody to give me this answer, or I need someone to guide me in this, rather
Yeah.
than taking the time to go, let me ask questions. Let me really figure this out. Because right, I could be like, well, that they're not the same. Oh wow, they are the same. Okay, well,
Right.
what am I seeing in? All right,
What
I'll
are
go
you
here.
seeing
Yeah.
here? Two guys floating in space or two guys hanging from waist harnesses?
Yes.
I sped it up
Waist
a little bit just so
harnesses.
it's a little more obvious. First, you're
Yeah,
in space. These guys always have crisp pants, crisp shirts. Where's the washing machine? Where are they ironing this shit? They
of
always have
course.
different stuff on. Where are they storing all of these clothes?
Hmm.
What are they doing with them?
Right.
How come they don't smell like hell? Imagine not
Right.
taking a shower for
Yeah.
6 months.
Well, what's
Okay.
also what's also interesting too, just a simple question of how much they're moving and doing all these things. Look at all those wires. What are the points of those, and how
Uh,
often are they hitting these wires and pulling things out? Because
And
if they're that,
if you ever look
yeah,
on the outside of the space station, how many wires are out there with a 500-degree swing in temperature every 90 minutes?
yeah,
It's the
right,
dumbest thing ever. And people just like, oh no, it's real. There's not a. It's the space station is the most filmed. And it should. It's the best. It's the most complicated construction project ever. It was built in space. There's not a single photo or video of it being built. And the funny thing is, they have different countries making different parts, never testing it on Earth, sending it into space, and
right,
then they put it together. So this is like an American part. Then you have the Soviet part or whatever, and so they have different valves. So they have to come up with a connector, right? So someone else makes this offset connector, which will connect the two together. Look at all this is on the outside, right?
right,
And there's no video of it being put together. None.
right,
It's
and
nonsense. And just the other
yeah,
day, a Chinese rocket was supposedly falling back to Earth that was building the new Chinese space station. Okay. Have you ever watched any of the Chinese moon landings or anything? They're the funniest. They're
No, no, no.
South Park laughs at them, okay? Because their animation is just the worst. But this thing was never tested, never built. It's done in space, not a single video. Game over right there. Game over.
Right. Well, and that's just the thing it's begging the question of going, how do we know that it's all these things are being built up there other than just these videos that you're showing us right here? And this is what is then shown to everybody, correct?
Well, this is the only
Right.
thing.
This is the only thing that
this
we
is
can
the only
say.
thing they ever showed, but this is a cartoon.
Right, of course. But that's just what I'm saying is then going, oh, well, if they're showing it, it must be real. It must, why wouldn't it? Because that's the big question that I get from people, and I don't even go into it all that much.
And the solar panels, these solar panels wouldn't power your, they don't power anything. I mean, yes, you know, they're getting a lot of sun, but them, you know, air conditioners, compressors, the, you know, they're all of the stuff they have there, the lighting, there's no way these things could do it. And also, solar panels don't last forever. Well, this has been up here for 20 years. When's the last time they changed those panels?
Right. I mean, and that's just the question is then if this is so easy for us to see, why aren't we seeing these things, right? I think just in any general person would want to see it, right? Just out of curiosity.
People just believe. People talk about Elon. Excuse me. Elon Musk.
I know Elon gets you emotional, man.
When he sent his car up into space, right? Oh, that's so cool, right? And I go to people, did you see it? And they're like, no, I heard about it. Because like people didn't even see it, and they thought it was the coolest thing ever, right? Look at this. Right. Ready? Snapshot right now. How come that's not in every Tesla showroom? How come that wasn't on the cover of every Science magazine, Time magazine, Newsweek, you know, Cosmos, whatever? How come there's not a postage stamp? How come there's not postcards? Nothing, right? If you did that, that would be on the wall of every Tesla showroom, okay? Be the coolest ad ever. Nothing. Yeah. And then, you know, the quote Elon said at the press conference.
No.
Can you quote it for a Bitcoin? Nope. You're out. It's over.
I couldn't.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. We'd have better CGI. That's what he said.
Really? And that's just the thing is people would say, well, if
you can Google that.
I know.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. We'd have better CGI. What the heck's going on there?
Yeah. Well, it just makes you just more than anything going back to, you know, why I want to talk to you is because you obviously have a lot of, you know, research information, people that you've spoken to, and not just people who look on the internet. Like, as you said, your friend who's a lawyer, people who actually are going and doing research and looking into things with different fields, doing camera work to show that, hey, this isn't what it is. And that's, and this is part of that potential, right? Is being able to go and look up things yourself and knowing that, wow, I have an intelligence. Like I can start putting two and two together. And we as a community, as a group, we can start putting things together. What then could we do for not just ourselves, but for one another? And I think that's the big takeaway. And I know you've talked a lot about that, is going, we need to come together. We need to share not just this information, but know that you have purpose.
Well, that's the thing. And I tell people, you know, there's a lot of flat earthers out there that are in the closet. The time is long past. You need to get out of the closet. You need to start waking people up. You need to, you know, and there are people that aren't meant to wake up. Move on. Go to the next person. There's plenty of people that want to wake up. There's plenty of people that are close enough there that have just given the opportunity. If you're a flat earther and you have the app, gift them the app. You know, say, hey, let's just watch this video every day and we can discuss it, you know, like buddies, like, hey, let's discuss this. And you could laugh at me. And if you watch the daily video every day for a couple of weeks, you're toast. You're a flat earther. Right. So people need to start, you know, doing something, because if everybody woke up to flat earth tonight, the tyranny would be over tomorrow. It'd be over. And, you know, what does flat earth have to do with it? Well, flat earth has to do with finding out who you are, finding out that nobody has dominion over you. Nobody can rule over you unless you allow them to. And everyone is just allowing it. Everyone is doing everything because they have a false belief. The only power anyone has over you is in your head. It's in your head. It's a belief. If everyone believed that the elite had no power over us, they'd have no power over us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
and that's exactly it, right? Is there's that fear of stepping out into one's potential because of responsibility, ownership, just being able to know, like, all right, well, I have to take the reins of my potential, my well-being. And
Yeah.
that is scary. I really do understand how that could be very scary for anybody if you're not willing to understand that, hey, you have purpose. We said earlier, you can speak certain things into fruition, but it's also your actions then also have to justify and support that.
100%. One more thing before we go, because I talked about
Yeah.
before when they looked up from the balloon, it said I said it looks pretty far from the rocket. It looks flat, but people don't realize how we see. We
Yeah.
see in the same distance in all directions. So if I'm standing right here, I can see the same distance, whatever it is, 10 miles, 50 miles, whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter. That's the
Mm,
same distance. So you flip that over, right? I'm standing here. This is the limit of my eyesight. I kind of see a curve there, put a
mm,
put a line over it, and you could say, oh, that's the curve of the earth. No, it's not. That's the curve of your vision. And by the way, if the earth was a ball, you wouldn't see curvature like this. You would see curvature that goes around flat, because you would see to the same level all the way around you. You would see a
mm.
circle just like you do here.
Right.
You would see the same thing.
Right. 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 That's interesting.
But the problem is we can see too far. We can see
Right. With
things
cameras.
that should be over the curve,
Right.
and we can still see them. So there,
Well,
that rules out the ball right there.
that's also what I know a lot of people have spoken about, but I know Crow speaks a lot about it in regards to these new cameras and having at our disposal, really. And I know you've
Yep.
spoken about that too, but even just in regards to putting them on rockets, like the HD, whatever he talks about with HD cameras or these new high def cameras.
Yep. Crow's law. Anything interesting that can be filmed in high def will be filmed in high
Of
def.
course. Yeah.
Now,
And
have
that,
you're a Crow subscriber, I take it?
mhm.
And
Yeah.
have you listened to every single podcast he's done?
Not every single one, but I definitely follow.
You
I've
got to
watched
catch
quite a
up.
bit. I
You
was
got to
gonna
catch
say,
up. It's better than any college education. Anyone that's listening to
oh
this, if
yeah,
you want to learn
yeah,
about the world, Crow with two R's, CRROW 777 radio.com.
absolutely. No, and that's part of where I've learned so much, and learning in the sense of then going, okay, I have questions or I'm intrigued. I want to go look into it, and that's what people don't understand is they just think you just agree.
So somebody that you have a kid that's about to go to college, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I tell you to do. Ready?
Yeah.
Subscribe to Crow 777 Radio. Rent the kid a house with some friends somewhere,
Of
and just
course.
say all of you have to listen to every single episode, and we're gonna test you on it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna have a discussion. We're gonna do a Zoom call, whatever, or do it in person. And for the next 4 years, all you do is listen to Crow, and
Yeah.
you could do other research also, but that's your schooling. And then I'm going to take half of the money that I was going to put, or a quarter of the money that I would have spent on school, and I'm going to invest it in Pirate Chain cryptocurrency, just Pirate Chain, right? Maybe a little
Yeah.
Monero. And in 4 years, your kid is going to be smarter than anyone of his age, or even it's going to be smarter than anybody, and he's going to be a multimillionaire. Okay.
It's so yeah.
All right.
Well, it's so true though. Because here's the thing for
Either
those who
that,
haven't watched.
or the world's going to collapse and we're all going to be dead anyway.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be one or
but
the other.
skip school, give the kid an experience of a lifetime, send him down to Cape Hatteras and let him work in the kite surfing shop there and learn to become a world-class kite surfer
Right.
while studying Crow, while a quarter of what you would have spent on college is shoved into crypto for 4 years. Multi-millionaire. That's my prediction.
I was going to say, well, I'm not too familiar with the crypto world, but I can say in regards to listening and the amount of guests and the people that have such an understanding of their fields or their professions or their interests, it really is. It has opened my eyes, my own personal experience, but I know so many people that also have listened, and it's just, even yourself included, it just allowing us to ask questions and be curious.
I when I had my business, I was hiring people and whatnot. And if I had, a couple of candidates, I went to grad school, I went to Harvard, I went to fucking Yale, whatever. And a kid goes, oh yeah, I went kite surfing for 4 years. I studied crow. I've got a little bit of life experience. I worked in a hardware store. I'm like, you're hired.
Yeah, right. Oh, absolutely.
That's the kid I'm hiring, and I'm going to pay him more money than I would have paid the friggin' Harvard kid.
Right.
Harvard kid.
I can only imagine that conversation of just him being around, just being like, hey, I know we have a lot to do today, but let's sit down and let's watch that episode and let's chat about it.
Think about this. If you had a college age kid listening to one crow episode every single day, that's 2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah.
What? And then even write a paper, write a one, a couple hundred words about it.
Right.
Just have a journal. That kid would be so amazing. That kid would be amazing. Right.
Yep.
So don't go to college, study the crow, listen to all of them, and learn how to kite surf or something. Do something really fun, and put your money in Pirate Chain. ARRR. There you go. And then you're gonna be a multimillionaire, and you can invite me on your yacht when you graduate in 4 years.
And the whole time you're on there, you're just literally going, yeah, we see too far. We see too far. We see way too far. Yeah. Well, dude, that's awesome, man. Well, I don't want to keep any more of your time. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about things that we chat about. Right. Seeing how the responses come, would love to do it again. Get even a panel sometimes just to allow you guys to go back and forth in regards to, the Marty leads or any of those guys. Balderson, I've had on a few times now as well.
Benjamin's awesome.
He's the man.
Benjamin makes me feel like, oh God, I thought I knew something. Damn it.
I was gonna say that guy. You'd be like, oh man, I really like the color of that paint. He'd be like, actually, absolutely, brother, that's a great painting, man. If you know
that's a good invitation.
Well, I'm also
absolutely, brother. You did it really well.
I'm from the Midwest, so when I didn't realize he was from the Dakotas, so when I started hearing him for the first time, I was like, is this dude from Chicago? Because he'd be like, absolutely fantastic. I couldn't agree more, brother. And I was like, this guy is nailing it. So, but dude, where can people, I know the app, if you want to I know you have it behind you, but just give people
it's available on Android. You have to have 8.0 operating system or higher, and available on iPads and iPhones, iPhone 6 or higher. And it's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Make sure it's by Blue Water Bay. Look at the ratings, one of the highest rated apps in the App Store. If you're looking at another one that's made by in the Android store, it's made by the Flat Earth Society people, and it's to gatekeep your mind. They stole my name. They stole some of my design, but the app is horrible. So don't send me an email telling me the app sucks, because it's not my app. And you can find me at theflatearthpodcast.com, the Flat Earth Podcast Facebook page, the Flat Earth Podcast Instagram, and my YouTube channel is DITRH, the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, DITRH. But if you forget all of that, the Flat Earth Podcast is my podcast, is the website. Everything is there. And get out there and start flat smacking. You have the ultimate flat smacking tool in your pocket with you at all times. So whenever you're sitting on a bus, on a train, outside, and you strike up a conversation, you could bring up stuff on the app. The new pictures that are on there, you can pull up pictures, show them the lunar lander. You can show them the heliocentric system. There's no way I'm giving you an Uzi. Okay.
Right. I was gonna say
of firepower to go get people. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I can speak that I have it as well. It is really very beneficial. I have to watch the recent one. But there's it's so short. Much on there.
It's short. It's a Tuesday.
It's perfect. It's nice and quick. But Dave, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. And that said, looking forward to another time in the future. And best of luck with the journey, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Ben. See ya.
Awesome, man. We'll see you guys.
The Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock app. A dynamic new app to teach family and friends about where they actually live. The sky is a perfect clock. The sun measures the hours and days. The moon measures the weeks and months. The star constellations measure the seasons and years. 12/12 or 24-hour clock face. Or go hands-free. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app with new added features. World Time. See what time it is all around the flat Earth. A true Earth compass that shows true navigation across and around the flat Earth plane. Weather. Tap for detailed local weather information. Know what phase and where the moon is at all times. Watch the sun travel between the tropics for the seasons. Select an amazing background. Add your own or have the app change it to a new one automatically every time you use the app. Add a countdown to your next big date. Learn the truth about our world with the featured video of the day. Web button for additional flat Earth related features, from the mythical curve calculator all the way to Tartaria. While talking to friends, easily pull up pictures that expose the globe lie and shine light on the flat Earth truth. Video playlists in different languages. See the real trade winds circling the flat Earth. And clean screen features. Simply click off the items you don't wish to see. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app is the best tool to show your friends and strangers how our flat Earth actually works.